Hello, and welcome to a new season of the Xpert 11 Road to Glory series. In the last episode of last season, we made it to the Division 5 playoffs in our first attempt at Division 5. However, on the day, we ran into a team that had gone their entire league season unbeaten and proved to be too strong for us in the end. NK Zagorje beat us by a single goal to nil, and they got promoted to Division 4 instead of us. So, this season, we are aiming to try and get back up again, but there's a few minor problems that we've had to sort out with the squads. First choice free kick taker Pedro Miramontes has retired and has not only left us without a proper free kick taker of the team, but also a reduced defence. The team overall is pretty strong though. We have a pretty well balanced team now instead of a few standout players, which hopefully give us a few good options going forward. However, you'll notice that I have not bought in a new defender to replace Miramontes. Merely, I have decided that Ibrahim Qamara and Devin Reilly will be sharing that fourth spot in our back four for the upcoming season. Speaking of the defenders, I've decided to shuffle around the squad numbers a bit after the retirement of Miramontes, who was wearing number 3. Devin Reilly has moved from 5 to 3, and Ledley King's changed from 26 to 5. All 5 of the defenders in our squad now are wearing their favourite shirt number. We've also changed Ant Connolly's shirt number from 25 to 1, as he has been the first choice keeper for a few seasons now, and after the retirement of Gio Dehor, it was a good time to make the change. I don't think I've explained favourite numbers before, but every player has their own favourite number that they like to wear. It's just a small touch, unless they're a diva of course. If the player is a diva, then that means that if they do not wear their favourite number, then they will suffer a performance reduction. Otherwise, they will get a performance boost out of it. I believe that's right anyway. I can't profess to be the most knowledgeable guy on the diva aspect, as I tend to try to avoid them, but you may remember we had a player called Xavi Alonso way back earlier in the series. He was a diva. We had to give him the number 7 shirt if he was to perform properly. This will be the 8th season of this project and the 10th season overall, so I think it's a good time to check on how I think the squad's going so far. We've made a few changes from the original plan of the original set of youths we started back in season 29, but a few of them have made it through. Aquila Santa Maria, Pim van der Kruis, Raymond Hargreaves and Celso Mota are still there from season 29, but others like Xavi Alonso, Sergio Canamasas, Marius Clean and Jose Juan Casado have all departed for pastures new, and I believe all are now playing for new clubs. Further down the line, we acquired Alvito Roma the very next season, and he has become a vital part of the midfield. Next up, we also acquired around the same time a guy named Emil Silka. However, a couple of seasons later we sold him and replaced him with Ibrahim Qamara in the back line. We bought Emil Silka as a means to get a free kick taker. However, he was only hard shot. I wanted a proper free kick taker for the upcoming games, so after a while I decided to sell Sergio Canamasas to get the funds to buy Pierre Of Hesslink. That was back in season 32, where we'd already bought in Ray Tataw Eta at the time. Further changes were made to the youth department a couple of seasons later. We sold one of our farms, Gilberto Manuel, to Jesus and his Pandas, and after that, the next season, we brought in Devin Reilly and Azrat Zairi for future development. We'd also picked up a striker earlier named Endira Zubeldia, who we sold off towards the end of season 34. We replaced him with Irfan Ghazali, but after one season, we decided to sell Ghazali. You can see there's been a few changes to the team since last season. Let's run the rule over them and see what exactly has changed. So, as said before, Gio Dehor and Pedro Miramontes are both retired, but I decided to sell our longest serving player, Sergei Kvyatkovsky. Reason? He was getting a bit too old. He had dropped down to 8 bars for the upcoming season, which was lower than Pierre Of Hesslink and Ray Tataw Eta, who are now both 9 bars. As a result, I sold him off for a small fee to Tudor Transport FC, another Ultimate League side. I'm surprised we even got a bid, to be honest, but whatever, we got the money for it. Irfan Ghazali has also been sold off for a tiny profit of 1.1 million, which is a good amount considering that we got him much cheaper than his value. Ended up selling him at his value. Maybe we could have sold him for a bit more if we'd held on to him, but I needed the cash for the upcoming season because these players need a good DV level or they're starting to stagnate a bit. Anyway, with the funds we'd got from the end of the season finishing second place, we managed to buy 3 new players, and here are the 3 new players. The first Backup goalkeeper Lucian Siratel. After retirement to Gio Dahor, we have one keeper in the squad. Personally, I don't like to have one keeper in my team, but I know that several managers out there do like to use only one keeper. It's a bit of a gamble really, because if your keeper gets injured, then you're left without another backup keeper unless you have an all-rounder to go in goal. But the all-rounder takes a quite big hit for being a keeper in goal, so I decided to buy in Siratel as a decentish backup in case Ant Connolly got injured. So yeah, Siratel has taken over Gio Dahor's role from last season. We also needed to buy a new free kick taker, and unfortunately look at the options, there weren't too many great ones for the budget we had, and in the end I had to plump for 38-year-old guy Timothy Wagner. However, it's not so bad. I have good authority that Wagner has some quite similar qualities to that of Glenn Carlton, who did pretty well for us even though he was only in Division 6. The 38-year-old is a good skill level, ends up bolstering the midfield and takes over the average age role that Sergei Kvyatkowski provided. He will give our average age a lift in that department, which will hopefully allow us to be a bit more competitive in the league. And believe me, we will need a more competitive side for the division ahead when you see the teams we have this season. The last addition is Christopher Wolstenholme, a youth academy striker that's pretty average. He's a bit like Curtis Horton not so long ago, but we promoted him so we could sell Irfan Ghazali. Now, you may notice that if this is the striker, he's wearing the number 9 shirt. We haven't actually brought a proper striker in to replace Ghazali, have we? Well, you see, unfortunately, while training for farm strikers to get more money was good, it was really affecting Motor's rate of development, having to cater for 2 different strikers. I decided it's probably better off than having Motor playing every game of the season, or every game that he can, within reason of course, so that the striker can get the game time he needs to go up a skill bar, because he's in danger of not going up pretty soon, as are a few other players. Anyway, that is our team for this season, and those are the 3 new additions we have. Let's check out our opponents. And believe me, the first opponent is probably one of the biggest threats to our long-term goal that we have right now. Say hello to BOR Bears, arguably the biggest club we've played so far in the Ultimate League. And that's saying something to consider. We had a team in CDF Jimbo Fogo who were in Division 2 for quite a while. But BOR Bears are a former top flight Ultimate League side. Yes, you heard me that correctly. They were in the top flight. In fact, they were in the top flight of the Ultimate League as recently as when I took over as manager. They got relegated that season and they were in Division 1 when this series has started. Since then it's been a long slog down the divisions, but last season they won a Division 6 title to move back up to Division 5. And believe me, their squad looks rather intimidating. I think this could be not the first time that we meet this team, and not the last either. I feel that this will be the roadblock that may prevent us from reaching our goals. Let's take a look at their squad, for instance. This squad is worth a whopping 209 million econ. This is by far the most expensive squad we've ever faced. In fact, they are one of the top 10 most valuable sides in the Ultimate League. These guys are a huge threat, as you can see. Marcelino Rivera in goal for BOR Bears is a 15-bar keeper. And you thought that Sham was strong last season. You ain't seen nothing yet with these guys. They've got some pretty strong veterans in Enfield, Saftiu, Carr, and they've also got a very big threat in the 27-year-old Ted Bryden. Meanwhile, they have a lot of very talented youngsters here. Our best player is Pim van der Kruis. They have a lot more players like that in their squad. Gigi Bicali, Ricard Fernstrom, and Rudolf Thiago, well, maybe not so Thiago, Flavio Losa more like. Yeah, these guys are a huge threat, and they're around the same age as us. This is kind of worrying, really, I have to say. I say BOR Bears are the strong favourites to win this division. But hopefully when the league game comes around, we can ruffle a few feathers and try and give them a good challenge. Our second opponent are Indian side Barabazza 11. The first time we're ever going to play these guys. Like BOR, they are a new opponent to us. Barabazza, unlike BOR, have spent most of their time in the lower divisions. They've been a bit of a yo-yo side between Division 5 and Division 6. However, last season they managed to stay up in Division 5. They have a pretty good squad, valued at 117 million econ. That's not too far behind our own value. However, their value is probably more likely placed in slightly older players than the ones we have. Let's take a look at their squad. Barabazza definitely have some decent players. Benham Rashidi is definitely a very good striker and will be a big threat to the defences of this division. As for their squad, they aren't too much stronger than ourselves. In fact, I'd say that Rashidi is their big asset. They have about the same midfield, if a bit weaker than ours. Meanwhile, their defence is probably weaker too, but there isn't much between the two sides. And what could play a difference is the fact that their form training, whether that's as good to keep up with us or not, will depend on whether they stay up. As with a lot of sides of this division, it's the general management that will maintain how the season goes for these guys. It's looking like a tough division really. These guys could be a threat, but I would imagine that they are probably more likely to be down towards the bottom end of the table, given their history of being a yo-yo side between Division 5 and 6. But who knows, maybe this time they'll be able to establish themselves in Division 5. Next up on the list, another new opponent, Norwegian side Fredrikstad, who were relegated from Division 4 last season. Despite the fact they'd be relegated from Division 4, they have the cheapest squad out of anyone here, and also the biggest. They have 22 players, which might be quite hard to cater for form-wise, so we'll see how that goes, or they might just pick on a few select players to keep everyone unaware of how well they're actually doing. But regardless, Fredrikstad have some good players though. Let's see their team. Fredrikstad have two first choice goalkeepers. Sandra is a 36-year-old, so don't know how often he'll play, but he's a good keeper that they'll probably use from time to time. Kier Groting is an older Ant Connolly. He is 4 years with the same skill level and same SQ sets. The big man there is clearly Zainal Effendi, a 14-bar goal defender who will prove a menace in the back line. He will probably hold up the likes of the other defenders they've got there. It's a bit better defence than Nkeza Gorge had for sure. Their best midfielder, Sharon Rafaelson, is set to retire. They also have a good solid base in midfield with Casserole, Bekenro and Bergfeld. Up front, Diarra Cleotigo and Martin Freisen make up the front two pairing. They have a good squad, but you have to wonder whether they will be in contention for staying up or whether they will more likely be towards the bottom of the table. Now a more familiar opponent, Gorgie Thistle. We played Gorgie last season, and in the end they only narrowly stayed up on the last day of the season against the King Punks after they beat Blue Force. It turns out that what one of the King Punks didn't matter anyway, but Gorgie Thistle have survived in Division 5 and they will be playing us again next season. Worryingly for them, they survived in a weaker division than the one they've got this season, and it appears their manager is already suggesting that it might be that they might be getting relegated, but he has also argued that he will fight to the end and will seek to survive. They will probably be a tricky opponent again. They have been proven very difficult to beat at home, although maybe not so much away, but if we can get some good points against them, that will help in order to try and fulfill our ambitions of getting promoted this season. Although with BOR Bears in the division, it's pretty unlikely that we're going to be seeking that first place. Gorgie's squad is pretty familiar from last season. However, they have sold Frankie McReynolds and also promoted a very, very promising young player in Teague Dobby. At 76, he is probably one of the best midfielders you'll find out there. There will be no shortage of sweeters if he gets put on the market, that's for sure. However, I get the feeling that Gorgie will want to keep him and turn him into a superstar. He would certainly be a big threat in the future, that's for sure. Lennox Gorham has improved to be a decent strike partner for Kieran Barron. They've sold on Raymond Joston, and that's about it really. That's the Gorgie squad for the new season. Now on to the next team. Hearts of Midlothian, another team based around the same area as Gorgie, both Hearts fans clearly. Managed by Daz 1874, Hearts of Midlothian got promoted alongside BOR Bears last season, so those two will know each other pretty well. They pretty much dominated the division along with BOR Bears, and they have a strong squad to do it with. If a bit cheap at 69 million econ. They don't have the strongest of keepers, but that said, P4AHFC and ourselves were contesting promotion with a young keeper in net. The big new addition to their side is 14-bar free kick taker Carl Hassel. He's going to be a huge threat. They have a good team all around here. Strong pairing in Ken Gome and Salazar. Midfield pairing Livia and Hassel, and a front two Steph Verhagen. It'll be interesting to see what kind of impact they make in this division. But their keeper weakness could come back to haunt them in the end. That is why I don't think they're quite as good as BOR Bears, but you never know. It's going to be a challenge against them, that's for sure. Our sixth opponent is a very familiar face. It's P4HFC from last season, the team that we had to beat in order to secure the playoff place last season. Unfortunately, we didn't really take advantage of that and go on to get promotion to Division 4, and so we're in Division 5 again. We'll have to face these guys once again. They were a bit of a pain last season. They managed to beat us by a single goal in the second round of the season, but we managed to get the revenge of them and deliver a 2-0 win to secure the playoff place. But we're going to face them all over again now. Let's see what kind of squad they have. Pretty much the same as last season. It's a good squad overall, so they are going to be a threat for sure. They'll definitely be up there come the end of the season. I feel they have a good solid team, and the manager has experience in Division 4 before. However, whether they can replicate that sort of thing, I do not know. As you can probably tell by now, the general standard of this division is much higher than the last one. This is going to be a real challenge to get out of, and it may be that it will be on beyond us, and we may have to spend another season in Division 5 after this. Hopefully not. I would like to try and start building and climbing the divisions sooner rather than later. Otherwise we'll drag on a bit too much in Division 5. We've only really climbed 2 divisions since we started at the moment, and to get up to Division 4 it needs to be the next step that we need to take now. The squad is getting much nearer to it, and I think it's perfectly capable of achieving promotion this season. Finally, we have a familiar opponent in Real Madrid. Yes, again, Real Madrid will become our most played team in the club's history this season, because this is the 4th time we've been drawn the same division as them. And they are a very strong opponent, because last season, if you remember, they managed to hold us to a draw at their place, and arguably should have won against us in the home leg, but we pulled through and got a big winner thanks to Ray Tataw Eta. They will be very tough opponents, and I fancy them to be up there competing for that promotion place. Real's biggest asset is their midfield, which is stronger than ours. They have 3 12-bar players and 2 11 bars. That's some great strength there. They'll be a difficult team to beat, that's for sure. Their midfield is probably their greatest asset, and is also the best aged one, with Ullman, Sway and Ackman coming through there, as well as Kirk Logan there as a backup if needs be. Davin will be a huge threat up front. He was a menace to us last season, being the only Real Madrid player to score against us. Defensive wise, they're a lot older in that department and also quite strong. I think this will definitely be a challenge, and I would imagine they will have enough in the tank to definitely stay up. Whether they can contest promotion or not, that's another matter. So yeah, we have a pretty tough division on our hands here. BOR Bears, Bowser 11, Fredrikstad, Gorgi Thistle, Heart of Midlothian, Cydonia F.C, P4HFC and Real Madrid. Of those, I imagine that BOR Bears, P4HFC and Real Madrid will be in contention. I hope that we are also in contention for the promotion place. Bowser, Fredrikstad and Gorgi Thistle are the ones I'm leaning towards being the relegation candidates, but you never know what's going to happen in this division because they have some good players. What I would imagine though is Heart of Midlothian might also be up there. It depends how it goes really. They could end up being mid-table fodder. I predict there'll be a very difficult and competitive division. I want to set a target of getting 30 points for this season, but given the standard teams here, it doesn't look like we're going to be quite getting 30 points if we get into that second playoff spot. But hopefully we can get lucky with a playoff draw and go up if that's the case. But in any case, I think we will have a challenge on our hands. Our first game is away to P4HFC. They beat us 1-0 last season despite our chance count. We will need to learn from the mistakes made that time and to try and beat them this time. Picking a win at their place would be a huge win for us. If we can do well in this division, we should be able to get promoted. That said, we had a strong division in Division Season 34 and ended up going the entire season unbeaten with 42 points. So you never know what can happen in this game. Anyway, see you for the next episode when we take on P4HFC. Goodbye.